Welcome to Ceph News at 10. I'm John Schubeck, and this video is all about data reliability and durability in a 3-node cluster. Let's get right to it. We are looking at a typical Ceph starter cluster. We have 4 nodes, a number of OSDs with their respective storage devices, and a protection rule for our data. Our default protection rule is called replica 3, which means 3 copies of the data will be stored for every write. Our default crush map knows about hosts and OSDs, and our default crush rule is called replicated_rule, which says we're going to write across hosts first, then write to our OSDs below those hosts. This default rule provides a favorable balance of availability and data durability. In fact, if a host is offline or lost, we can still be in compliance with our 3 replica rule using our surviving assets. Our customer, on the other hand, doesn't want 4 nodes. Why? It goes to the use case. This cluster will only be used for temporary swing space in the course of a data migration project. During the course of the migration, the source data will always be protected, and the target storage pool will also be protected. The data will live on our Ceph pool only so long as it needs to for a make before break data migration. The customer says, well, if a Ceph node goes offline, leaving only 2 surviving nodes, I'm still good, right? In fact, looking at the default min size of 2 parameter, we can still read-write with 2 surviving nodes. However, our pool will be running in what's called degraded mode, and this means it's running with reduced redundancy. That is to say, it's out of compliance with our replica 3 rule. Well, I'm not comfortable with that, and the decision at this point is, can we operate with a 3-node cluster while still providing an acceptable level of data protection? Let's go to a live demo for that. I try to do most of my work in the Ceph dashboard if at all possible, and so that's the starting point for our live demo, logging in as the administrator. And for now, we have a healthy Ceph cluster, but we're going to change that a little bit later. No pools configured at this time. It is a 3-node cluster, and since I'm in the middle of a Ceph file system project, SMB to be specific, I'm going to create a new Ceph file system from here and allow the MDS service, metadata service, to operate on all 3 nodes. Going back now to the pools within our cluster, by the way, that file system is called fsvol1, and we now see our default names for file system volume 1, the .data pool, and the meta pool, and they're both replica 3. Moving on to the client experience, I'm going to use my Bootstrap node as the client. You wouldn't normally do that in a production environment, but just for a demo, it's perfectly fine. I'm going to mount an fsdemo mount point, actually create it, mount my Ceph file system, make sure it is in fact mounted, and it's showing 64 gigabytes of capacity, which is essentially the usable capacity at replica 3 from my cluster. So I'll go on down into /mnt/fsdemo. You could see that I made the mount point a different name from the file system volume name, just to kind of keep things a little bit separate. And we'll do a touch, we'll write a file, we'll do a dump of 10 megabytes here in a second, just to show that in fact we can create a directory tree as well as touch and write files. So there's my dd command for 10 megabytes. And so there's our 10 megabyte file. We're going to identify that these files exist. We have a tree structure, and now we are going to inject the failure. And we're back. Let's go back to our Ceph dashboard. Because I am in a virtual machine environment, I have total control over the hosts. I paused Ceph Node 2, it's offline, as well as the OSDs owned by Node 2 are shown as down. If I look at my pools, I'm still at replica 3 for my data pool and metadata pool, but it's showing that they are degraded. That is because they are not able to be put in compliance with a replica 3 across a fault domain by way of crush of host first, then OSD. What does the client see? Well, here's my client session. I can create a new file by way of a touch, and I can dump another 10 megabytes down into, I'm using a second subdirectory here to keep things separate. So there's a 10 megabyte file, and I'm proving and showing that in fact I am still read-write in this file system. Why? Because of the minimum replica size of 2, so replica 3, minimum size 2. That means if I have 2 nodes online, I can still write. How did I get here? Well, even though my recommendation is for a 4-node cluster with replica 3, the customer only wants 3 nodes. So in the customer's mind, we're still good, right? Because, well, if a node's down, we still have 2 out of 3 replicas online. We have availability, good availability, and we're also minimally durable because our threshold is if only 1 replica is online, we still have our data intact. But that's not a good enough story for me. What I'm trying to protect against is a coordinated failure, which means in this case, a node down or offline, plus the possibility of an additional failure, like a storage device. And while I'm probably still minimally durable, it's lower than the margin of error and the margin of risk that I'm willing to accept. There are tools available that can model the level of availability and durability in the event of coordinated failures. My proposal is going to be set the minimum replica size from the default of 2 to a value of 3. It's called min size. This means that my data will only be available for read-write if all 3 nodes are online. And while indeed it's going to impact the possibility of availability, 1 node down means I can't even read my data, it will restore the durability factor of my data to a level that I would find acceptable. Okay, then how do we do this? Well, in Ceph ADM CLI command line, let's do a status. We can see we are in an unhealthy or a degraded state. You can take a screen capture and pause here for yourself. The commands to do this, however, will be Ceph OSD pool set, the name of my data pool, min size 3, and the name of my metadata pool, size 3. Meanwhile, over at the client, that file system is still mounted /mnt/fs demo. However, I can no longer read from that file system. Even the ls will not work. I'll have to interrupt it. Now let's put things back together again. And we are back. We are fully restored with 3 healthy nodes. We still have a min size of 3 for both pools, but we can first see over in Ceph ADM CLI that our cluster is healthy. And over in the client experience, we can now list our directory. We can follow our tree structure. We can even furthermore write a brand new test file by way of a touch, and proving to ourselves we are read-write. We still have that min size of 3, but finishing off with our cluster, we can see we are in a healthy state. The hosts are all online. Our pools have fully recovered. And with that, we closed the door on today's session of Ceph News at 10. This is John Schubeck posing the question, do you know where your data is? Take care.